Hello, everyone. This is two-dimensional land. Two-dimensional land. It's got the vertical and the horizontal axis. These blue-dotted creatures, when they move, they just crawl. It's really hard for them to move in this two-dimensional land because they don't have much room to go into the third dimension. They can't move up. They can't arch their backs. You know, all they can do is look straight ahead. And this way. They can look in all directions, but up does not exist. Only up to them is this way, and maybe down is this way. Maybe that's, and then right and left, let's just say, by coincidence, they just happen to use right and left like we do in our universe, in our third dimension, which Neil deGrasse Tyson, I believe, said is fourth dimensional space. So these two-dimensional creatures live in a three-dimensional space, but they're only able to interact with the second dimension. So that is how we are, as in our third dimension, can see them. So there is a fourth dimension that we live next to, but we can't see those fourth dimensional creatures. So these two-dimensional creatures, when they move, they just crawl. They do the best they can. I think the way their movement is probably, if I was to just make a hypothetical educated guess, the way they move is probably back and forth, like this. In whatever direction they go, they just go randomly. And they just float around and observe their environment and their universe, and it's just a flat point, a line that is just points. And if you look straight ahead at a point, you can see it. But if you look in any other direction, that point is going to disappear. But that's getting into a totally different topic, and I don't want to get too deep into that. I'm just trying to explain what they see the best I can from what's going on in my mind right now, because I'm excited and I thought I wanted to document this and just draw pictures. Now, in a previous video, I talked about my finger and my fingerprint. Let's just imagine that there's my fingerprint, all of a sudden just appeared right in front of them. Even though I can see my whole entire fingerprint, all they can see is what's in front of them. This is all they can see is the edge wall here in a two-dimensional space of just like a point of just points that makes a line that they can see. Let's just say that's running in this direction compared to where this two-dimensional creature is. Now, what's amazing is when I take my finger and jump like this and move in so quick, and there's no way they can do that. They're like, oh! Now I see this edge of the fingerprint here. Okay, all they can see is basically what is basically visible, and they're two-dimensional. They can't see behind it. They can't see above it. Okay, I know I'm not going to say it too much more, but that is amazing to them because, like I said before, their movement is just slow, moving back and forth the best they can to try to create motion, in my opinion, and that's how they move. But they saw my fingerprint jump. Woo, bam! It jumped again, and they're like, "Oh my God, what is this?" So, when those tic-tac shaped objects, in my opinion, when we see them, we see what's in our third dimensional space. The tic-tac shaped objects observed by our Navy. This is all we can see. Just like the edge of my fingerprint was all they could see in the two-dimensional. But on our third dimension, which is a fourth dimensional space, the fourth dimension is able to interact with us. But that's all we can see because they've actually chosen to say, okay, we know you can see this, but the rest is in the fourth dimension, which we are unable to observe because we don't have the capability, the movement capability, to do such an amazing thing. We have to be in a higher dimension to do that. So when they jump from outer space way up there, like I think like we'll just say 100,000 feet above the Earth's surface. 100,000 feet. Whoops, put the comma in the wrong spot there. 100,000, that's 5 zeros. Above the Earth's surface, feet or meters. We'll just say meters because that's even more. In my opinion, it doesn't matter more. We could jump and say 200,000 meters. I'm just really giving a high number out there to give an estimation of what it might feel like to jump, this is what the Navy has observed, down to sea level on Earth, where our oceans are, off the west coast. The aircraft carriers see them take off at speeds that in our universe we don't have the capability of. They go against the wind, okay, and they move like the wind just doesn't exist. Like there's nothing preventing these tic-tac shaped objects from moving at incredible speeds that we just cannot do and will never be able to achieve. It's just physically impossible with the laws of physics in our universe for them to do what they're doing without exploding, destroying themselves, just evaporating, and just if we had made machines like that to do that, they wouldn't function. There's just too many G-forces impacting the way that they move that these things just seem to ignore. They ignore G-forces, these tic-tac shaped objects. But in order to do that, you have to be in another dimension, and that is my opinion. And it's proof, in my opinion, that these tic-tac shaped objects are attached to giant creatures, maybe even quantum creatures. We can go in that direction too, but then that gets really weird. But let's just say that they're really, really huge and we just cannot see them because they're in another dimension. And never the fact that they're gigantic, it's the fact that they're in a different dimension. And the best way I could explain it is maybe it's an appendage, kind of like a fish-like appendage, and the tic-tac shaped object just happens to be attached to it, and then they do it, and they're kind of feeling around, and they see us, and they're able to see it and move or interact with aircraft carriers and aircraft itself. Civilian aircraft that have captured it on video. They are out there. We all know, we've all seen them. And these appendages are then able to lock on to our third dimension, and they got their tic-tac shaped object attached to it, and they just look around. Because sometimes there's more than one or two or three of them. Sometimes there's a whole squadron of them. And they'll just imagine these are just appendages. Kind of like on the thumbnail that I drew. Yeah, and they got tic-tac shaped objects. And they're feeling around the planet Earth. And they're looking around, and they're most intrigued by our technology. But they've been there forever, I think. They've been there since the beginning of evolution, in my opinion. So, there's so much more to talk about. But I believe this video has been long enough. My illustrations are not that great. I need to get better at drawing. Have a good day.